What's going on, everybody? Will Curran from Endless Events back again for another Whiteboard Wednesday. And today we're talking about how to use heat maps for conferences and events. This one's really exciting and kind of nerdy for me because it's something I'm really passionate about is data and collecting data around events and using it to make better decisions around our events. It's one of our big trends for the year, so you want to make sure to go check out that trends guide if you want to learn more about using data to make better decision making. Also combining one of my other favorite trends, which is wearables and events. So we're going to talk a little bit about wearables and how they can use heat maps to better make decisions and to help you plan better on the fly and make constant adaptations and changes to your events as you go along. So in order to do these heat maps, you can do them manually if you want to, but that's a lot of work. So we're going to talk about how we can use a piece of technology known as wearables. The piece of technology that you're going to want to pick up are, for example, wristbands, or it might be an actual physical badge with the tracker inside of it, most of which have trackers inside. Or if you have existing badges, you can also attach trackers to them as well. And usually the most common way of tracking and doing these heat maps is using Bluetooth Low Energy. However, you can also do this using RFIDs as well. We'll link down some resources where we've talked about that on our other podcasts, future or past Whiteboard Wednesdays, all that sort of stuff down below. However, before to do this, you're going to need one of these technologies to do it. So once you have that, you have the ability to track people in two-dimensional space, essentially seeing where they're going and everything like that. In theory, if you want to, you could grab one attendee and watch them walk all the way around and do everything like that. But that's cool. But instead, we have big, large sums of data and attendees, so let's utilize heat maps, which allow us to see where people are congregating, where are they moving, and everything like that. What's cool about these is they also have the ability to change over time, so you can do like a time lapse from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and see how it changes over time, which is really cool, and that's another form of data. But we're going to talk about, for example, in this case, a snapshot at one single moment in the event and what you're capable of doing. So let's go ahead and bring up a heat map, which is lovely drawn and just in a fictional venue on what it looks like, and talk about some of the data that we can pull from a heat map and what is possible. So you can see in this that there's a couple different colors on here. Basically, the spectrum is from blue to red. Blue meaning least occupied and not a lot of people, or no people in this case, let's say, to red, which means a lot of people, very cramped, very active area. So you'll see in some areas, an example of a blue area might be, for example, the edges of the room, because let's be honest, no one's a wallflower, no one's like actually physically standing against the wall in a room. However, in an area that's really popular, it might be something like, for example, this breakout room A. You can see it's very, very red on here. And then you can kind of see the spectrum in between of yellows, greens, oranges, everything like that on there as well. So as you're kind of looking at a heat map, here's what you can pull from it. So on here, the first thing that catches my eye is all the areas that there aren't a lot of people at. Let's start with that one, because that's the one that we can try to start on each spectrum of the extremes of each side. So in this case, some blue areas that we have is there's kind of a blue border around this right here in the vendor hall. This is a vendor booth, we know, because it's a vendor booth. That's just maybe we designed, obviously, and drew this setup so we would know it's a vendor booth. But because there's a lot of blue around here, which means there's not a lot of people. So what that might ask me is, man, there's not a lot of people visiting vendor A or whatever vendor that is. And that might cause to a question. Okay, is there something weird about it? Are they just not popular? Everything like that. And what's great about this is this data can be given to you in real time. So let's say you're looking at your event and in real time you see that everything else is going good and there's this red areas and this and that, but this guy's blue. I'd immediately go over there and start to look and see what's going on. Maybe their booth smells. Maybe everybody else is giving away free stuff and this guy isn't. But whatever it may be, you can ask questions around it and then relay that information back to them. Also important as well, it allows you to then gather feedback to this vendor and say, hey, how's the show going for you? And they say, it's not going good. Not a lot of people are walking this way. Then you as a client to them can say, hey, well, what can we do? Can we figure out a way, maybe we do a push notification on the app, for example, to push people as a free giveaway. Maybe their offering just isn't good. And honestly, maybe it's just something that they're, a vendor that's been around for a while and everybody knows them and that's why they're not going to. Everyone wants to go to this hot new startup, which we'll talk about a little bit. You also can kind of see some blue areas speckled around here, around this vendor down here in the corner. You might want to ask those same questions as well. Let's see, what other blue areas you have? Obviously, we talked about the blue border around breakout room B. There's a little bit of blue in there as well. And then, it's a little bit darker and darker green around the edges of the general session. It makes sense. Again, no one's really walking around the walls on there as well. And that's it for kind of the blue. Now let's also look at the opposite spectrum as well, the other extreme, which is the red, meaning very congested, lots of people, very active. So let's start over here in the general session. You can kind of see these red pockets on here. Obviously, there's like 2 specks of red on here. Turns out that's where our stage is. So obviously, you know, there's always going to be someone on stage inside the general session. But you can kind of see these pockets on here. Well, it turns out that our event is done 100% in the round, and not on the round, with 100% round tables. So we're doing round tables around here. So you can kind of see these 4 pockets are red on here. What that might mean is those are the 4 popular tables. What I might want to look around as well, why are they popular? Well, it turns out like maybe the coffee is like right next door to it or something like that. People want to be right next door to the coffee. Maybe it's something like they have the best view in the house. There's a lot of different options and questions you can kind of ask yourself. Why is this popular in here as well? Let's say, for example, if you had it where your event where there was a lot of people in the back of the room, but not a lot of people in the front, you might ask yourself, well, maybe people were trying to stick near the exit or something like that as well. A lot of really good questions on here. Let's go down to these breakout rooms. You can see these common areas that are red in here. This might, again, denote that these breakout rooms are really, really popular. But you can look at breakout room D and breakout room B. They're not as red. These are red, very, very red up here in breakout room A. But breakout room D and B, what's going on in there? Let's look at the schedule. What session's going on? Who's speaking? You know, is it anything even happening in their period, or is it completely empty? Or is it something where maybe they just got done early and now everyone's moving into breakout room, breakout E and F? But this allows you to see in real time, like, what content is popular in your conference or at your event. Is there a stage that's really popular? Everything like that as well. Then you start to see some really cool, interesting logistics related stuff. So you'll see in here in the dining room, you see this big streak of red in here, and then you can kind of see some orange. And see some orange. So it turns out this orange, these are where the tables are. So again, obviously they're gonna be very busy where people are sitting down to eat. But you see this big long red, and then it kind of turns into orange. What this means is there's a huge long line of people waiting in the dining room area. So what that might do is immediately trigger you, and maybe you can also set up some automations inside your software that if inside this area ever turns red to notify you, so then you can go check and see what's turning out. Turns out they ran out of food, and now they're like struggling to get food out fast enough. You can make some decisions on there. It allows you to make some decisions for the next day or the next meal on there as well. Again, just based on where people are landing on here as well. So it allows you to gather a lot of information really quickly as far as like what's going on inside your event. What's also cool, we didn't quite show it on here because, again, we could fill this whole entire thing up with color, but also in these hallways, we would probably have heat map data in here as well. But let's say, for example, in this corner, like maybe this corner, for example, might be really, really red. So what's great about this is it shows that there's a lot of people interacting or stopping here, but also might give you an idea. Maybe like we want to put some high boy tables over here so people can hang out rather than just standing there as well. Also, one cool thing with a lot of these RFID technologies too, I know one in particular allows you to exchange contact information between each other. So you might be able to see where are the contact points where people are exchanging contact information the most on here as well. So very, very cool. You can gather a lot of data very, very quickly from a heat map, what's going on, where people are at, and allows you to make some data-driven decisions on the fly for how to improve your event. I'd love to know if you've used heat maps in the past, how have you used them? Where have they been really helpful for you? Leave a comment down below on what you can do. Also, if you have any ideas for how heat maps would make your event better, leave a comment down below. I gotta know. I want to talk to you as well. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to smash it with the like button. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down button, but let us comment what can we do better on there as well. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, if you really enjoyed this piece of content, we do this every Wednesday right here, right now, every Wednesday. So make sure to subscribe. Get that Whiteboard Wednesday content right in your inbox. We'd love to see you as a subscriber. My name has been Will Curran from Endless Events. This has been Heat Maps for Conference and Events. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on Whiteboard Wednesday.